Good morning, Joe fans. How's it going?
Good morning.
Good morning, Juan.
Sweet.
Uh, yeah, let's see. I'm gonna make a mentally. I'm gonna bring actual chat up and try not to miss every single chat this week. That's my goal for the week. So we'll see.
All
Uh,
right.
our guest is running a little late. It looks like. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of push off and get started talking about it. I feel like this is going to be like a good one for
Okay.
losing track of time. So, oh, and here he is. Here he is. Let me bring him up.
Yeah, there he is.
Perfect. Good
There's
timing.
my guy.
Good timing. Oh, look
Hey,
at
hey,
this
hey,
room.
hey. It took me a little while to get the restream working. I couldn't
Okay.
use my Safari browser, so I had to
Oh, okay.
do some
Yeah.
dangling here. But it's fine. Yeah, good.
No,
I'm
but
on.
great timing. We're all set.
Hi.
I hear you. You look good. The room looks amazing.
Oh, thank you. It's still not complete setup.
All right.
I moved from a different room to this one, so I have some shelves that are empty. I have a bin full of figures I still have to put up, and well, most of it's up here. Yeah. Juan, I see you have.
I suspect it will never actually be complete.
Yeah, exactly. That's a problem because I'm running out of space.
Yeah.
Juan, you're wearing a nice T-shirt there. I like it.
Got my representation.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. I've seen a nice 12-inch figure that's donning the old school logo. So I can't wait to get talking.
Yeah,
about
he's
it.
over. Yeah, he's over here. He's over here.
Yeah, you're frozen on us.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can hear you fine, but you froze up.
How about now? Is it fine or?
He's moving for
There
me.
you go.
I just think the connection's just kind of weird. That's all. But he's good for me.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not seeing myself freeze. So.
Okay.
And you guys are not freezing on me either. So.
Well, we'll find out in the playback.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So with that, let's let's get into it. So this is the G.I.JOE 3D printing podcast. Juan and I created the G.I.JOE 3D printing Facebook group. Geez, it's been over a year now for sure. Yeah, and we've been just having a blast with it. But there's a lot of people, like we're getting a lot of new members every day, and most people are not currently 3D printing, but at least claim that they want to be. So we decided we'd start this podcast so we can kind of just help bring people into the fun hobby that we're enjoying so much. So I'm Mark of Mark 2 Design. I've been 3D printing for a good couple of years. Been a Joe fan my whole life. And that's me. Juan?
Hey, I'm Juan. I am just G.I. Joe enthusiast, 3D printing enthusiast. Met Mark a little over a year ago. Just talking back and forth, doing our thing with 3D printing. Thought everything he was doing was just fantastic, and we linked up and started this thing. And always good to be here.
Cool. And our guest this morning, Dominic, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name's Dominic. I go by Viper 6. That's a 6 and an IX, not to be confused with, which I found out recently. There was an older Viper 6 from the US. So I'll be the Canadian one. My background, I'm actually an architect by profession. I've taught, and I also taught at universities 3D design. So I've been in 3D printing on the architectural side for almost 20 years now. So really from the beginning of commercial viable 3D printers, which were the sizes of Xerox machines, like huge printers. And on the G.I. Joe side, that only started during COVID for me as a distraction, being locked down and having nothing to do at home. Started collecting my old G.I. Joes with my kids, and then that just mushroomed into insanity. And then in a vacuum, without knowing there was this community out there that was doing customs or anything like that, started customizing my own G.I. Joes. And then one day I thought, oh, it'd be kind of cool if I took apart a bat and scaled it up to a larger scale. And originally I wanted to do like a 12-inch. And then I found out about the classified series, so I switched that over and did a 6-inch, and that was almost 2 years ago, and that's kind of just where it snowballed from. So I got to combine a hobby with what I do during the day, and it's been a lot of fun. So on the figure side, I've only been doing that for under 2 years. I feel like my strengths are more on non-organic modeling, but I think over the last 2 years I've jumped pretty quickly up in terms of skill level, and that's due to my background. So it was kind of second nature to migrate. So I'd be happy to share that process and ask questions and see other people's work. And I want to thank you guys, because once I found the group and saw your work along with Steve's as well, it's very inspiring and gives me ideas. And I'm always excited to see other people's ideas, and I'm always amazed on how often we think of the same things separately. And
for me, it's I'm always happy to see other people's stuff, and the only kind of competitive thing is like when someone else does something that like was in my head to do, but I haven't done it yet. Just like, drat.
Yeah.
Same.
Sorry,
Right.
but I hear you. Like I've been more of a hard surface modeling guy. Only recently have I kind of gotten into the organic modeling, and it's a real different animal.
Yeah.
So what's your go-to? Yeah, sculpting.
Yeah.
But what are your go-to design programs right now?
Yeah, I'm a little bit embarrassed because I see people posting and they're like hardcore, they'll use whatever, Fusion, or they'll use Blender, or they use Maya. I use basically a toolbox of everything. And I think it is because of my background and the teaching that I've done. I've taught the Autodesk suite of software. I've taught, I taught Maya back before it was owned by Autodesk. So that's going back almost 20 years. But what I do now, I've kind of streamlined. Any kind of hard modeling shapes I do in Fusion, and then I migrate to Blender. So those are the two primary pieces of software I'm using. I want to get back into Maya because, again, 20 years ago, I remember liking it. I've loaded it up. I look at it and I'm like, I don't have time to sit down and kind of go through the interface.
Yeah.
And really, it's just seeing a new interface kind of throws me off. I got to like find all the old buttons where they are and that sort of thing. But ZBrush is amazing, so I want to get back into that. But I mean, I can use Blender to do pretty much anything I need it to do, and Fusion plugs any other holes. I use a software, like my primary software for design is it's called Revit, but it's building specific, like it's architectural and engineering specific. That's kind of my CAD go-to. Obviously, with AutoCAD background, but and it's a parametric design tool. So once I got into Fusion, I mean, it was like Fusion's very basic for me, but it's really cool because it doesn't have to be a building. You can model anything you want, and it stays parametrics, meaning you can go back and change parameters and adjust the model. It's not, once you do it, it's not fixed. And that's why I haven't let go of Fusion, because once you do something in Blender, other than undoing, you can't really adjust it.
You don't have
after
that
the fact.
timeline.
Yeah, you don't have that's right. You don't have the timeline. So it's not parametric. So it doesn't have the parameters that influence the geometry. Whereas in Fusion, yeah, you can go back to any point, remove an object, add objects, change the profiles, play around with it. It's a lot more flexible. And that's the background I come from in Revit. It's all parametric design, building design. So it's iterative as well. So that's why I hold on to using both. So what I'll do is, any kind of clothing, organic-y shapes, that's sculpting in Blender. But then if I'm adding details like pockets or weapons, like a molded gun or a knife or goggles or something, I'll model those parts, those details in Fusion and bring them in and then blend the two of them.
Yeah. I want to talk to you all day.
Sure, I'm available.
Yeah, I've been on Fusion for, like, I started with Tinkercad, tried to move into Blender, and was just the learning curve in Blender for me was just so steep
Just
that
high. Yeah.
it was just easier for me to find a way to do it in Tinkercad. And then
Yeah.
eventually I forced
Mhm.
myself into Fusion and love it. And like, I never want to go back to Tinkercad.
Right.
And now I'm picking up ZBrush, but it's another thing where it's just like every time there's some simple little thing I want to do, and I kind of have an idea of what the tool is, but then I have to find the button.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
fucking buttons.
Yeah. I mean,
ZBrush.
when you're getting into Maya, I mean, you're looking at a piece of software that professionals use to make movies.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's not designed for this level of use. So, you know, if you're not getting a formal training, it's going to be a very long learning curve. So, what I would always suggest to kind of this kind of group is start with something like Tinkercad or SketchUp, very basic modeling programs, just to learn the 3D space and how to orient yourself, how to move things around, how to use, how I would always teach design. You start with those basics, because every piece of software you use is going to use those same fundamental skills. It's navigating through a 3D space and Boolean commands. So you're adding two things together, you're subtracting one thing from another, or you're doing an intersection of things. All the other tools are like add-ons. And then that's where you start the evolution of software, where, you know, one gets stronger in character design, another one gets stronger in building design or mechanical design. But at the core, they're all the same. So if you can learn those basic skills, you can transpose those to any piece of software. Then it becomes a learning curve about interfaces and tools. What does this tool do and where is it? Oh, I had a tool I used last week. Where was that? In which menu?
Yeah.
And that kind of learning, I mean, it's a long learning curve. If you're doing it on your own, I would recommend watching a lot of YouTube videos, and there's a website called lydia.com, which is like tutorials. Um, but if you're, you know, if you have the resources and you can do an online course or an in-person course, that learning curve will shrink to like a month, right?
Yeah.
When you have someone teaching it to you, you'll learn it much, much quicker. If you're doing it on your own, you just got to be patient and kind of go through it a million times
Yeah,
and do it
just
wrong.
having access to someone where you can say, "Where's the button for X?" and they just tell you, versus maybe a 5 to 20 minute search
Go a
through
long
YouTube
way. Yeah.
videos looking for
Right.
just the exact specific thing you're looking for.
And
Yeah,
the other point about that is
Exactly.
it's not just learning the tools and learning what they do. It's learning when to use the right tool and to learn the best
When to use them.
practices on modeling etiquette, like, you know, knowing about faces and what's, you know, what works, what doesn't work, normals, you know, how does that affect your model? These are things that you're not going to learn in Tinkercad. You're only going to learn once you're like down the road and you don't know why you have a hole in your model and you can't figure out, like, it feels like it should be there, something should be there, and there's a gap in it or something, or it's not printing right, or, you know, it's not manifold, or like all these things. Those are hard things to learn on your own. It's much easier if someone shows them to you.
yeah. So this was kind of leading me to my next question. So my my
We didn't
3D design
rehearse, by the way.
experience, my 3D design experience is purely for printing. So I've always just kind of worked with solids.
Right.
Whereas once you're in Maya or Blender, you're not. And I was just kind of wondering, like, are you just at a point where it's just completely second nature, and you build it in such a way that you're closing all your gaps and everything as you build, or do you still have issues where you have to go hunting around for, like, oh shit, where's the hole?
For personally, for me, 3D modeling is really, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, it's not something I have to think about doing, other than, okay, I'm in a new piece of software. Where's their X tool, and what's it called in this version? Like, it's not called scrape. It's called whatever. Like, it's just figuring the lingo out for each individual platform. But for me, it really is second nature. I've been 3D modeling since '96. I did a dissertation on virtual design and architecture. So, like, to me, the 3D modeling part of it is really, I don't think about it. It's more the again, it's more understanding, okay, I'm in Blender now, and they call that tool X, Y, and Z, and it works this way rather than this other way, which is the opposite way, because it's a different software designer. That can get a little frustrating because sometimes I think something should work a certain way, and that piece of software just does it differently. Even stupid things like the way you zoom and rotate an object
Right.
is a
That
a
drives
little
me
bit
the
different.
craziest.
Yeah, I wish everyone would just agree on a standard and just keep it
Yeah.
that way. But I do run into, I mean, on the 3D printing side, I'll print something, I still get fails. I tend to find most things before printing now, other than like printer issues, like model issues. I tend to find them all. Um, Sometimes because I'm going from with the GI Joe stuff, because I'm starting with a 3D scan. It adds another layer of issues.
Mhm.
So going from a 3D scan to a clean, usable model to adding all the details that I add to them, that's where each step you have potential of running into issues. So, like like you might have one piece of software, but then once you bring it into the other, a piece of that same face might be inverted, and it's hard. So like if you're adding, like in Blender, if you're adding a layer to bump it up, you'll be adding, and you get to here, and then it starts going in the reverse. So it's little things like that are frustrating, and I still run into. But you clean them up, you take your time, and you deal with them. Sometimes I just fake it and then just hope it works out.
Yeah. So what kind of printer are you running?
I've got a couple. I don't have that many. I know that Juan has a bunch. For large scale, I use the Creality 5 Pro Plus, which is it's the largest format that Creality has, and that's my PLA Plus printer. Then I have a smaller filament printer. It's an Inventor by what are they called? Forge, Print Forge or something. And it has a smaller bed. It has a bed about that size, and that I use for more detailed PLA filament prints. And then I have my resin printer, which is an industrial Wow from China, and
Oh wow.
yeah, it's a high resolution 4K, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty big 4K printer. Like it has a big print size, like 8-inch by 6-inch by I don't know 8.5 or something. It's a pretty big bed for a resin printer, and
Is that that's like good, like 4 or 5 years old, that one?
it's about 3 years old now.
Okay.
It came out 3 years ago. I have a guy where I buy my printers. He has a direct source out there, so he gets these. Like it wasn't really available retail here. I don't know about the U.S., but here it was hard to find. And he had recommended it because I was looking at like the monos and like all the standard resin printers you see at the time. But this one has where I see the difference in this one. It was a lot more expensive than the others at the time, and I think it still is around $1,500, $2,000 now. But when I bought it, it was over 3,000. The difference about it is on the print bed, on the 4K. Normally, what you'll get is you'll get fall off on a lot of printers around the edges
Mhm.
on resolution because of the way the LCD works.
Mhm.
This one it's consistent right to the edge, like it's perfect. I have other novice printing issues that I do run into, like sometimes my threshold, like if I print a hole in a peg, sometimes they don't quite fit.
Right.
But that has to
You
do,
know,
I think,
yeah.
more on the curing time, like getting the right curing time for that exact resin that I'm using for that print. And sometimes the resin changes a little bit, or my blend of resins change.
Yeah,
And then
I've talked about this with somebody recently. Like, your resin's going to be different, and then like
yeah,
I'm a guy that mixes tenacious in to get a little more
same here.
durability out of it, and that's
Yeah,
going to tweak it.
yeah.
So even if you dialed in your
You know,
slice settings perfectly,
Oh, yeah.
after a couple of prints, your
It's
LCD
off.
is going to have worn a little bit, and now it's overexposing again. So
Yeah,
it's not worth
mhm.
the headache of dialing in to that degree for resin for me,
I agree.
when I can just sand it down a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm drilling out holes a
Right.
little bit, filing them. I I spent, I remember, an entire weekend. I have a friend here that is actually he's a denturist, but he's like one of the leading 3D print guys in North America, and he gets flown around the world setting up studios and 3D print on the 3D print side.
Yeah.
And he spent the weekend with me. We got the printer set up and calibrated perfectly. Like it was getting amazing hairline detail. And that lasted a few prints, and then it was back to the same problem, using the same resin, the same. So at that point I said, you know what, I'll just file it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think
it, just not.
I'm very curious. I haven't used SLA myself, and I'm curious if you don't have those issues with SLA.
With the filament?
No, with stereolithography. So where it's using a UV laser instead of an LCD screen.
So you don't get the resolution, right?
Really, SLA doesn't give you the resolution of DLP?
From what I'm reading, on if you're going on the higher end, like 4K or 8K, you're getting a higher resolution.
Interesting. Oh,
more consistent. But we had at my firm, we had a different type of printer that was, shit, I should have grabbed, I have a model in the garage. We would build like a condo print, like a 30-story condominium tower that was about 8 inches. And the level of detail we can get would be the railing, like we can get like the mullions and railings of the balconies perfectly. But it's a completely different type of printer. It uses, maybe it's an SLA. It uses so it's a vat as well. I mean, it's a vat, but it's not full like our printers are, the resin printers. What it does is it seeps in like a thin film of.
It's got a tank.
It's got a tank off to the side, like in the machine, and it kind of like does a film of liquid, and then with a UV or a laser, I don't know what kind of light. It has a light source nozzle that goes through on the wet liquid and cures it, and then it does another layer and cures it, and another layer and cures it. So it's like it's very old. Like this is we had that 15 years ago, but the level of detail is insane.
Yeah,
and it's super strong. It's not brittle like resin, like all this resin that we're using. Like you can do mechanical parts with it. Like we printed like wrenches, like fully operational wrenches right off the bat. And then it has two materials in it. It has the finished material, and then it has the support material. And the support material is a rubbery material that it prints at the same time. And what happens is you get your model, and then you have to soak it in the bath and just let it dissolve. So you don't have to go through and break all the little supports. It just dissolves all the supports. So it comes out super clean. But those printers, I mean, that printer was like $300,000.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the size of a dining room table. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
And the print bed's not big, but the machine itself is big. And you have to have it direct vented out, and you have to so it's not the same. Like I was spoiled back then. If I was doing this stuff back when I had access to that machine, I would be building the best figures you'd ever see.
Yeah.
But I don't have that much money to burn on a printer.
So we have had a question or two in the chat about what you're using to scan.
I see. So I have an Einscan SP. The SE is this, like they're basically the same, SE and the SP. There's the difference that you see in them, because I've used them both. The difference you like for what we're doing, you're not gonna notice a difference. So if anybody wants to get, I think the SE is the lower priced one. Sorry, you're breaking up.
You're pretty robotic over there. So what's the difference between the two? Like what?
Sorry, Juan, you want to?
Yeah, Juan, you're not coming through.
Right. Am I breaking?
You're breaking up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a difference in resolution. The I always get them mixed up. The SE, the lower model, I think does 0.1 millimeter, and I think the SP does 0.05.
Okay.
That's from memory. Don't quote me, but
Sure.
you
So
can
one
just go
has
on
a
the site
higher
and compare it.
resolution.
One has a higher resolution. That's about it. The everything else is like the software is the same. Everything else is the same.
Okay.
But I mean, for what we're doing, like I've tested both, and because I have that friend that does dentures, so he has, for example, he has another model of Einscan as well. His is a $20,000 scanner, and it's specifically made for scanning teeth, right? So you're taking a little tooth and you're scanning it, and it looks similar, except it doesn't have the big long arm with the. Sorry, where are my hands here? It doesn't have the turntable far away. It's a closer scan, right? We grabbed an SP as well, and we did a test side by side, scanning the same set of teeth. And like after tweaking the settings, I actually got a better scan from the SP and SE, which gave us the same results, than his $20,000 machine. And that's because as soon as you get past the one little tooth, if you do like 3 teeth, it's focusing so highly on the small part, it's not doing the larger pieces better.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he was not happy about that result. But what he went and suggested to his boss is that they buy a bunch of the SPs and do like the full mouth of dentures with the SP, and then do the single teeth with their high-end scanner.
Yeah.
So, but at our level, like if we're scanning, like, I mean, the hardest thing for us to scan is just like a shoulder piece of a figure, right? That's the smallest piece. And I mean, it's fine. They need some cleanup, but it's fine. Like I don't scan and print, right? I put a lot of time in cleaning up the model, adding detail and all that stuff anyway. So for me, the scans are more of a reference,
right,
reference point.
So you scan it, and is the result an STL file? Is that what you're getting from the scan, or an OBJ, or something?
Yeah. So you can save in about with the Einscan. I can't say the word. Einscan. It gives you the option to save simultaneously in about 8 different formats. Most common is the STL and OBJ. So I always save as both STL and OBJ. I tend to use OBJ as my work in progress model, only because it's more compatible with multiple pieces of software. So if I need to go into 3D Studio, which I do sometimes, 3D Studio Max, it doesn't load the STLs are smaller file sizes, but 3D Studio Max has trouble opening up an STL sometimes. Like it will do it, but it crashes often trying to do it. It's much more comfortable with OBJ files. So I use that to translate between software while I'm working. In time, I think what's going to happen is the 3D, what's it called? The F3M, I think, or it's a 3D printing file format.
Yeah. Fusion always tries to make me save stuff as this.
Yes, I think that's where the industry is heading.
3MF?
3MF, yeah. I think in 5 years that will probably be the standard for 3D modeling for purposes of printing. But right now I'm using OBJ. Now the downside to what I do is, I mean, when I scan at maximum frames. So I'll do like at least 32, but often I'll go up to like 64 frames. I bring the models in. I increase the resolution. Like I model at like the tightest detail I can. So like my models, like one figure, my model, like combined with all the pieces, is usually over 2 gigs.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
like it's stupid. I know I know I'm doing something that normally you would teach someone not to do. But the reason I do it this way is because my intention is always to get to the life size scale. I want to have all that detail I can, right? So, which is absurd if you're doing, you know, 3 3/4 or 6 inch.
Right.
Like you don't need that. But because I always want the option of scaling up to full size.
Are you saying Are you saying like printing a 6-inch
1-to-1.
figure? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Or not
No.
6 inches, like it's actual
6 foot.
6 foot figure, life size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone done that yet?
I have.
This guy.
You have a 6.
Oh, this one's got some hairs on it. Here's a bat claw. That's life size. Right. Stay in camera.
That's awesome.
Here's the hand. Right. So I mean, when you print this size, like the detail, I mean, the amount of detail you need to maintain is crazy. So like this piece, his combined model is over 2 gigs. Like each individual piece is, you know, like 300 megs or something. Here's head. Right. So this one I'm assembling and painting right now.
What do you like? It's going to be a piece like in your room there, like standing in the corner, scaring the shit out of people when they come in.
No, the bat is sold to another guy in the community, and then I have. Sorry.
My mind is a little blown. I didn't know this was a thing.
Oh yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, I'm stupid. I like to this is what I'm saying. Like I build buildings, so I like things life size.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I got the bat. The bat is all printed. I have all the parts. I'm just in the middle of assembling. Oh, here's the only thing that's not 3D printed. Well, parts of this are 3D printed, but here's the T-bar.
Oh, you're doing it like a no shit figure.
Oh no. My figures are all exact, like original. Like all the pieces are the same. It's constructed the same. Like I do rivets, I do T-bars, I do O-rings.
What time is it?
11:30.
What are you using for an O-ring? How did you print the torso? Like did the torso just fit on the Creality, on your big Creality, or did you have to break it into a couple pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I'm limited by budget for, you know, I don't want to spend, like I looked at and real estate. I don't have space to buy, like they have printers that can print an entire, like they have a 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter cube printers, right? But you're talking like $20,000 for that printer, and I'm not going to spend that. But so with my 5 Plus, my Creality 5 Plus, I can build here a torso. I basically split the torso in 4 parts.
Okay.
But there's also front and back, right? Because I build each individual piece as it's actually made. Yeah. So I could probably do the torso in 2 parts, to be honest. But I when I was slicing it, decided making quadrants where it would make sense to kind of stick it back together. And like I figured it would be. And also a tip for everyone: once you get to this kind of printing, you don't want to have failures. And I had a couple failures. So if you're trying to print a larger piece in one go, chances of failing are a lot higher than printing multiple smaller pieces. So the total print time for the bats was 15 weeks straight, 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, so I used 5 of these things. These are 5 kilogram spools. Yeah, 5 of these.
My wife's been asking me to buy those.
Yeah,
we just roll through filament so fast here.
In the chat, Dom, someone's asking, just out of curiosity, what did you end up doing for the chest decal for a 6-foot bat?
Right, that's a good question. I went back and forth with different options there. I would have loved to have done some kind of lenticular piece, I downloaded software to design and build lenticular piece, like to do the graphics, so I can do that. The limiting factor there is actually finding the lenticular paper. I'd have to order it from China. Like I found a source in China, but it's in 8.5 by 11 sheets, which is not big enough.
Not big enough.
And then to get larger sheets, you'd be talking about hundreds of dollars for one piece. So I thought it wasn't worth it. I did little tests with, actually, I have something here, if I can find it. What I did was, I don't know where it is here. I went to like the dollar store and, went to the kids section where they have like notebooks and things like that. And they have those notebooks with lenticular covers. So I just bought one of those, ripped off the cover, washed the sticker on the back off until it was just the lenticular paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was testing printing, even just for 3 3/4 inch. I wanted to try and do a piece like replacement. The difficulty is actually calibrating the software to match the actual paper that you have, and they're not going to give you the specifications on the paper. So like you don't know how many lines per inch there are on the paper, and to match that on the software, there's a lot of trial and error. Like you're printing, checking, and it's like slightly off, but you don't know if it's slightly too small or slightly too big, right?
Right.
I got one to work kind of close, but then when I saw the pricing for a large one, I thought it's not worth it, because then at that size as well, the lines on the lenticular plastic are really small, so it's not going to work in the same way you would expect it to. That was a long way of saying, so I scrapped that idea and 3D modeled the chest itself. Give me a second. I'll grab a piece of it.
Okay. And then while
this is awesome. Just between you and me, this is awesome.
No, I've been talking to Dominic for a long time, so we had been going over this. He'd shown me the 6 foot back probably 6 or 7 months ago. So,
wow.
Not new to me, but new to a lot of people.
Sorry, I should have had one of these here in the room. So this is just the bottom left piece here.
Yeah.
So I modeled the actual whatever.
Yeah.
The actual components, right? So they're actually in 3D. Okay.
That looks great.
Yeah. So when
we started talking about it, the thing that popped into my head was, you ever see the I see these videos pop up on like Facebook and TikTok and YouTube where they pour like a clear resin into a bowl and they paint the bottom of a fish and then another layer and they paint a layer and they paint. You could do that, but use like I've got like clear, these have cover things on them, so they're not clear, but like clear acrylic sheets, and do like a layer and a layer and a layer and kind of build it up a little bit. You could.
Oh, that's an idea.
It's an idea, but I would rather have the 3D printed thing.
So what I'm going to end up with this one is I'm going to paint it, put the paint application on, and then because there's depth, I'm going to actually, once it's assembled, and I'm going to seal it, I'm going to pour clear resin into it to fill it.
Yeah.
So it'll be a full clear resin piece in there, it'll be encased in resin.
Yeah, it'll be heavy.
Oh, the whole thing's going to be heavy.
The whole thing's. So, what's your like wall thickness and your infill on something like that? I mean, structurally, like, you're smart enough to know, like, you're not rocking 3% infill. It's going to collapse on itself,
Yeah. So these are. I have two different settings. Some things are printed at 5%, and some things are at 10% infill. And I do. I think I did straight grids or honeycomb. Can't remember actually now with these. See if I could tell. I think this one's a straight grid. So on certain parts that I know are going to be reinforced or that are larger, like the waist, for example, those were just 5% because they're very strong structures on their own. The head here is a 10% infill, so it's actually has a lot more weight to it. Yeah. The wall thickness, I do 8 layers of wall on these, which is I find pretty thick. Like it's pretty strong. And at this size, I mean, like these things are they're pretty strong. Like I was gonna print the T-bar as well.
Yeah.
And it would be total like this part of the T-bar is printed, and then this is ABS
Yeah.
just piping, right? But this is printed. Like this is rock hard. Like it's really strong. So the only issue with this bat, and I'm going to change it for the next one. The next one I have ordered is for a toy store, like a collectible shop.
Yeah.
And they want to display it outside with holding a sign.
Yeah.
This guy would not survive in the summer outside. Like the PLA plus will get soft.
The sunlight's gonna crush it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Like the head, I'm actually debating reprinting the head, because this head, when I was priming it, I was in my backyard, and I spray primed it, and then I went inside to get some food, and then I came back out, and he looked fine. Then I went to go pick him up, and it just kind of squished.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
I had a piece when my wife and I were doing costumes for our kids, and we had a piece just outside where we were painting, and same thing. It was like it just started, kind of listing
a little bit.
Yeah. That's why you got to use the ABS.
Well, they actually have I'm gonna try. There's a material that is specifically. There's a filament that's specifically made for outdoors. So it could take high heat, high cold.
Any idea what it's called?
Yeah, I'll look it up again. It's not something fancy. It's like if you just go to like the eSun or something. Which filament is this? Hold on. eSun. So if you go to the eSun site, they'll have high temperature or like outdoor. It's outdoor purpose, and it's not that. It's more expensive, but not that much more expensive. Like it may add. Well, if I'm doing 5 spools, it's gonna add up, but it's worth it. Like,
sure.
I haven't tested it yet, so my concern is getting the same level of detail with it. But at this scale, the detail, it's pretty easy to get the high detail. I mean, like this is a 0.18 millimeter layer height, and like it's perfect.
Yeah.
I have lots of printer hairs on this one, but like the detail level is perfect.
I mean, do you even bother with a filler primer like that, or do you just go straight sandable primer?
I have a couple shoulder pieces I can grab. I tried. This was the first life size, and at this scale, it's a little bit of a different animal, right? Than doing the like.
It's like doing cosplay pieces, yeah.
Yeah, so I've tried a few different things. Like, okay, so this piece here is not. There's nothing on it yet. Like, this is just printed. The lines are not bad, but you could still see them a little bit, like when you're this close. So what I've done with like the head, for example, like especially the face mask here. This is super smooth, but this what I did is I used resin on it. Like I did a coat of resin, and it just cured it with a resin, a UV flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
That works really well. And then the shoulder pieces, I tried filler primer and sand them. I just hate sanding, and like you got to sand like for hours. Like it's just I'm not good at it. Like I don't know how guys do the little blocks and get their. I sand more my fingers than I am the piece that I'm trying to sand. Like it's ridiculous. Like, my thumbs are like killed from trying to sand things. So I hate it. So the resin works really well, and it just needs like a very light sanding, like very, very just to clean it a little, just get some residue.
So there's a trick to doing it that I haven't figured out yet, and I think it's like if you don't put enough resin on, it doesn't want to cure. It stays kind of tacky.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So is that what it is? It's just doing it thick enough that there's enough mass that it can cure.
Yeah. So hold on, let me grab this. Yeah. So I just literally. So to ensure that I'm putting enough on, because at first when I was doing smaller pieces, I was being very delicate putting resin on. But no, I've learned. I take literally like a 1-inch brush here, It was just a thing of resin. I just poured in the container, clear resin, and I literally just go and slather it on. And as I'm like, I'll do a section about this big, blend it in as much as I can on the edges, like feather it, and then I just go with the UV light I have, and I just cure it with my hand, give it a wipe, feel it, make sure it's not tacky, and then just keep going to the next section.
Okay.
It works well. Like, you want to be careful around details because you don't want to fill up the details, right?
Yeah, overfill it.
So it's better to do a couple of coats if you want, but again, it depends on your resin too. You have to know how your resin reacts, right? Like,
what's your go-to resin for that type of thing? You said clear.
Yeah, this clear one is what brand is this? Like, I've been using what's called
Sriracha.
Sriracha,
yeah. I always think it's Sriracha.
Yeah, Sriracha. I'm terrible with names, but yeah, Sriracha I use. But this clear one is not actually. I bought this one a while ago. I used to use eSun. It's an eSun clear, but I like this. I'm using tenacious, so I do a mix between build and 30% tenacious.
For doing that?
For my resin prints. Sorry, I got off topic. For the clear, it's just straight clear.
Yeah.
Clear resin.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
So I do kind of want to shout out Dom. So Dom and I have been kind of talking. I don't know. It's got to be a good 7-8 months. He showed me this bat project a long while ago. So for a lot of people, this is kind of new, seeing like the 6-foot bat. But he and I have been talking about this for a while. And even when I started doing my figures, he and I would kind of share ideas and flip back and forth about what processes to use or what engineering to use. And there's not, honestly, there's some guys out here that do this, but there's not a lot of guys out here that can actually make the figures. So you're actually hearing from like a master. Anybody that's out there that's kind of listening, you're hearing from somebody who's probably on the cutting edge of this. So I haven't seen that shout out.
I haven't seen any life-size scale G.I. Joe figures. Right. I did see a Boba Fett Gentle Giant made one. But like I don't want to make I'm not interested in making statues, right? I want my figures, like, even like this is like a 7.5, right? 2 up here. Like, I want them built exactly like the original with an O-ring, fully posable, just like the original, right? Like, I want them exact. And that's what I want to do with the life size as well. Like, I want to make sure they're just giant action figures, right? I want them just, I want to be able to pose them. So the guy who bought this bat, he's going to start up a Instagram account just dedicated to the bat, where he's going to drive around and pose it
places
in real life and take pictures and post. Yeah, he's really excited about it. So I'll share that once that's live. But I mean, this has been a slow burn with the life size. I put it out there last summer as an idea, and I got a lot of interest in terms of that would be cool to see, but not a lot of people with the budget to do it.
Yeah.
I did have 3 or 4 people who were serious, but they wanted to see the product first, which is understandable. And then I found the one guy who was interested in buying it. Well, I started making it, and then the one guy who bought this one. And now I have the store I mentioned before. They want a bat. Another collectible shop, they want a full-size Storm Shadow. I'm doing a 12-inch for them right now. And then he wants a full size for his store. So I'm really excited to do the full size because, like, I think it's like I just want to see them for myself. That's the truth. I just want to see them.
Right. It's so just kind of like amazement.
What's the actual height of it going to be? Is it going to be 6 foot or like 5 something?
The bat is exactly 6 feet.
Exactly 6. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny. He has the same shoe size as me.
Nice.
His because I'm 6 feet tall, and then like his knee is as high as my knee just by chance, right? It's just that their proportions are bulkier. Like big, like they have huge hands and big pieces.
Yeah.
But I laid him out on the floor in the other room and took a picture with a measuring tape. So he's exactly 6 feet.
You didn't lay down next to him like Osama bin Laden or something?
Nah, yeah, I'll do that once he's put together.
All right.
So, we're kind of
I
getting.
had no idea, man. Oh, I'm so excited about this.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're kind of getting to the portion where it's about time for show and tell, but I also want to mention a couple guys that I know are in the group that they approach doing figures from scratch, from the sculpting aspect. So I do want to at least shout out those guys. I've been working a lot with Carlos Flanagan. People who just kind of do the sculpting portion of it, and that's another beast all in itself. For what we do a lot of scanning and then just kind of like enhancing, but there's a lot of guys who just kind of go from scratch with making figures, so that's another route that you would take.
Yeah, I started.
So
I
hey,
started making. Yeah.
Sorry, there was that question in chat that you answered, but you answered it in a private chat. There
Oh,
was a
sorry, I
question
don't know
about
what I'm doing.
is that a PET on the shelf?
Yeah.
And it's just there over your shoulder on the top there. That's
Yeah,
pretty,
I'll take it down during show and tell if they want.
awesome. Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, that's the first thing I made, actually.
I want to hang out in your room, man.
Yeah, me too. I don't have enough time. Let me show you.
I'm so jealous. Sorry, I interrupted. Please.
No, you're good, man. We're definitely. This is a topic. A lot of people want to know. Well, how do I make figures, or how do I get files for figures and stuff like that? I do want to kind of hit a couple points. Figures are kind of where this is sort of the real niche part to this 3D printing thing, where like people with 3D figure files, those are mostly for sale, or maybe not even for sale. The people are just trying to sell the figures. So I do want you to understand, if you're in the group and you come in and say, hey, I'm looking for, a Zartan waist, you might find it. Somebody may put that out there, but in general, you got to understand that this is the hardest part to do. If you're a 3D printing enthusiast, G.I. Joe enthusiast, figures are kind of where the money is, in a sense, because there's not a lot of people that really have the time and patience to figure out how to do it. It's tough.
Yeah, it's the perfect storm. It's equipment, it's software, it's experience, it's kind of the top of everything.
Yeah, right. I would recommend to anybody just starting off. It's a lot easier to do vehicles and play sets. Start with that and get comfortable modeling, because figures are, to do a figure properly, I want to say, but like that looks decent, it's hard. It's not the easy side of the modeling.
Right. So I just kind of want to address that, because unless you are pretty serious into 3D printing, if you're a novice coming in, you think, oh, it would be really great to make this, or it'd be really nice, I can start making this. This is you're kind of getting into the expert level of things. So I want people to understand the time and effort that it actually takes to do these things. There's not a lot of people that can do it, or just have the patience, skilled know-how to really get it done. So you can do it, but just realize it's going to take some time.
Yeah, and just to illustrate that point, like this is the back of the 12-inch Zartan, the 12-inch Cobra Commander, the Mickey Mouse one that I'm doing. But just to illustrate your point, like it's an organic shape, right? You have I'm trying to get this in camera here. You have clothing, you have straps, but then you have, this stuff.
A lot of engineering,
right? There's a lot of a lot of engineering, and then you have the inside of your figures that have to actually work, right? So it is the advanced level of the modeling. Like if you're doing like a vamp or whatever, a vehicle, doesn't matter which one, Like it's a lot of hard lines, it's a lot of this stuff. But then to marry this with the organic is tricky, and to get it to work properly, right? And this is not just like scan and print, like you like these guys know, like you scan this, you gotta go in and clean this up, you gotta make it actually work.
Right.
So a good way to practice is, I think, starting with something familiar that you can hold in your hand and measure and try to model it. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't work out. Like you just keep trying the same object over and over again until you figure out how to use the tools, and then move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
I'm still just, my mind's just blown over here over that bat.
Oh,
Like it's just like,
first of all,
and it's because like I'm making some vehicles now, and like the shark thing I'm doing, that's a week.
The 2-seat shark, I love it.
Yeah, it's like it's more like I've been working on it for a couple weeks, but like if I'm gonna do a test print, like the last one I did, I just because of the way it oriented, the back, like the sharks have this stuff on the back, and I just couldn't get it to print well, so I ended up slicing that off, and so I could print it separate as a cap. I ended up completely redoing the canopy. Like I just had to do all these little tweaks to make it good,
look as good as you want.
And it's like, and it's days and days of messing with it, and then like, okay, let's do a test print, and it's going to be 8 or 9 days before all that's done. And you're doing a 6-foot bat.
Yeah, I did. I
20 weeks.
printing the waist piece. I think I was 2 weeks into the print, and my my nozzle, not my nozzle, the what broke? The BL Touch, or I don't know, something broke on the nozzle. I can't even remember. The nozzle broke, the print went to hell. After 2 weeks, I was like devastated. I have to say though, as like a product review, this Creality 5 Plus Pro, whatever, is, I have to say it's a pretty good workhorse. Like it made it through one printer, and I printed the entire bats again, like 15 straight weeks, 24 hours a day, nonstop. Right, one print after the next. Just take it off, start the next, like round the clock. I had to change the nozzle, so I changed the. I always forget the names of these things. The starts with a B feed, the blue something feed.
I
forget what they're called, but the feed from the back, I changed that out to a direct feed drive. To a metal direct feed. Switched that out. That's when the waist died during that print. Switched that out, and then I had to replace one belt snapped during another print. But when the belt snapped, and that's the Y axis belt, one side snapped. I let it continue. It was halfway through a print. I let it finish, and it finished the print on one belt.
Holy crap! Really?
Yeah. I was like halfway through the print. I'm like, I'm not stopping it now. Just keep going till both snap.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't standing there where it snapped. I'm like, right?
No, I had just come downstairs, just like literally, because I saw it on the camera. I have a camera set up. It was literally like as I was coming down the stairs snapped.
And it was still, you saw it was still printing, and you were
still I stood there and watched it for probably an hour, and it was still printing. It wasn't. I was worried it was going to be shifted in some way. And then I let it. I said, "Screw it, just let it keep going." And it went for another 5 days, I think, 6 days printing on one belt, and it finished that print, and it made it through. I replaced the belts, but that's it. I had to change the BL. I had to change the BL Touch. Bowden, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that was in chat. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I had to change. So through this 15 weeks plus printing other things since, I've changed the nozzle out, like I said, from a Bowden feed to a direct drive. I changed the belts, and I changed the BL Touch once. The BL Touch.
We had BL Touches on. We have 3 CR10 V3s, and we had put BL Touches on all of them, and just decided they were more of a pain in the ass than they're worth. We got rid of them.
Yeah, mine comes. I don't know if I can take it off.
If you don't have
it comes
we
with
had to
it.
Put ours on.
It comes with it, and like what happens is the little pin bends.
Yep.
And then everything's screwed up.
Yeah. For us, it's just like we've got all our beds pretty like leveled and locked down, and Like it's just not worth it to let the thing go.
Yeah.
Checking it like it. Ugh. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know. There's the other problem that these have with the BL Touch is the harness for the 4 wires that connect to the BL.
Yep.
Yeah.
The wires tend to, I guess because of the heat, they tend to come off.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I looked online, like for the longest time, what was happening is when your bed goes to the home position, it'll go, zzz, you know, it does this, and it goes down, and it goes like this. What was
Right.
happening is to home itself, it would just keep going down. And then you try it again, and it'll go lower and lower and lower. And I looked online, a lot of people were having this problem, and I figured it out. It's the actual harness, the one wire comes off, and it just, obviously it's not working, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to see it because the wire's in the harness, it's just not making contact. So you got to push it back in carefully, and then it works fine. But I think from the heat, because it's so close to the nozzle, I think it heats up and it pops out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a
And
lot of
so,
time, right? You're printing
Yep.
something for days. It's got plenty
Yep.
of time to heat up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have an
Um,
enclosure on it as well to keep the heat in, so it
Yeah.
stays on the bed. Because by the time you're printing some meter, like I think my print bed is 400. I mean, once you get 200 up, like that bed has to keep staying hot to keep hold. And I've tried everything. I tried tape, I tried glue, I tried whatever. The best thing that works is I crank the heat up and I have an enclosure.
yeah. Dom, just
Yep.
out of curiosity, ballpark figure for what a 6-foot bat would cost.
Cost to make or cost to buy?
No, cost to get it out of your house.
I'm selling them for 5,000 plus shipping.
Okay, so
And that comes with paperwork, like invoice. So, like if someone has a shop or a business, they can write it off. Shipping with full insurance as an art piece, like I ship it as artwork, so it has full like I have to get it binded and fully insured.
right.
Now, luckily, this first one, it's a local pickup. The guy lives on the other side of town, so he's going to come drive here, pick him up, and drive home with him in the passenger seat with a
So
seatbelt on.
he's getting a deal.
So yeah, he's not paying for shipping. And the other
Right.
2 that I have on like pre-order, if I could call it that, they're also local. I do have a guy. I have one guy that's interested, and he's in Greece.
Wow.
But to be honest, I'm just hesitant. Like I haven't started talking about making that one yet or scheduled it because I'm like, I'm just
Shipping.
worried.
Like,
I
how
don't
do you
know. I
get
don't
it
even know how to deal with the shipping to Europe. Like
there?
the U.S. I mean,
mean-
the U.S. I could stick it on a truck or something. It's fine. But
No,
Yeah,
you're
like
right.
because tracking gets weird once you leave the country.
yeah, Canada
the
and
continent,
U.S.
really.
tracking's pretty transparent.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, once you get to Europe, it switches to different companies, and then it's just like who knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've kind of
time-wise,
we're kind of past our time.
I
So
can keep going if you guys want.
I know.
Oh, definitely.
What I'm going to ask is that you please come back for another show one day,
Sure.
because that would be great. I just want to pick your brain.
Let me grab the BET here since someone
Yeah, I'd
was
love to
asking.
see
Hold
it.
on a second.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do. I got quite a couple figures to show. Dom's
Yeah.
got quite a few himself. And we kind of talk back and forth and say, hey, are you doing this? We try not to do the same things, but sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
But he's doing bigger scales.
So this is 3 3/4 scale, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, it opened up here. Put it back on there. Now this was the first thing I made, custom, like before everything. I did drop it and break the front satellite dish, so this thing broke off. So I'm going to keep this. This goes here. But I have, so there's my BT with rotating radar in the back. Command thing here rotates, has little computer screens on it. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, and then the cool thing is, I made it.
The one cool thing?
The one cool thing. Let's see if I turn the lights off here, if this works. I made it to. Let's see. It lights up. Let's turn this off. So it actually lights up.
What is the material that's on there that's giving it the I forget what that effect is, that prismatic?
Yeah. You want to see the material?
Yeah.
It's a birthday gift bag.
No kidding.
From the dollar store.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So I printed the grid. So the grid's obviously is 3D printed separately.
Yeah.
The back is a separate piece. So I put behind this, there are LEDs that I took off of just dollar store LED flashlights.
Flashlights, yeah.
Like those flat rectangular ones. So it's full of LED panels. So I think there's like 9 of them in here. And then I have these LED panels in the top, and just put a reflective material up here and here. Put the paper bag over it, and then the grid goes on top. So it's pretty. I mean, I did the wiring and everything. So there's a battery. Here, let me open it. There's a battery case inside the body here, inside the top. Battery housing in here. It took a little figuring out how to do. So it just uses a couple AA or AAA batteries, and then that's it.
What's your tread situation?
Oh, these are just 3D printed solid. There's nothing here. This is again.
Okay.
This I would add to it if I did it again.
Sure.
I didn't. This was the first thing I ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would add the little rollers like you do, like typical, like the Wolverine or whatever.
Yeah. Gorgeous, dude.
Thank you.
Really
and it's printed. This is not. Did I paint this? No, this is printed in silver, just PLA.
Yeah.
This is not painted. Other than like some of the details, it's not painted.
It looks absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Right.
That was that's the first thing I printed.
G.I.JOE. Like from home.
From home, like G.I.JOE related. Yeah. That's the first thing I tried making. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so continue with show and tell. Show us a couple figures. I saw Firefly. Pull that out.
Okay, I don't have that much with me. So this is version 8 Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, fully posable and everything. Everything's,
and
it's supposed to be.
What scale is that?
This is 7.5 inch. So
a two up.
Like a 2 up. He has his gear. Right, trying to get that in the camera nicely.
And these are straight prints, right? Like this isn't like you did a print and made a mold or something, right?
This is not from a mold. No, these are prints. But I print. I think a question I think you had in your outline is, do you paint or print in color?
Yeah.
I don't print in color. I print everything. Just again, especially if I'm doing resin, you're not getting the colors.
Right.
So I print in like this was printed, I think, in a gray, or like a translucent smoky color, and then it's airbrushed and hand painted. Some details are hand painted. Same with like Cobra Commander. Like you can see, I was just doing the chrome on him. But underneath, I could peel this off. He's already painted blue underneath here. Take some of this off. Or whatever. He's already been like painted blue already underneath. Yeah. So this head's finished by now, just letting it cure. But I have a 6-inch that I'm doing at the same time. I did the chrome, but that's the color of the resin. It's kind of like a
gray.
Yeah, it's the Ceratec build, and then mixed with the whatever tenacious, so it adds. It's a little transparent as well.
Right.
It's like smoky.
Yeah.
And then his face has been chromed. So this is a 6-inch. The chrome took this chrome actually. I figured out a trick. Because I tried so many different ways to get chrome to work. Like it's the same. I did the same thing for this.
Yeah.
I've tried chrome spray paint. I've tried the chrome pens.
Yeah.
All that stuff. I don't like I think I have one right here.
It's
like these chrome pens.
Yeah, you can pour that stuff out and airbrush it.
I haven't tried to airbrush this because I was worried it's gonna dry.
I'm doing that later today for the first time.
You just cut it open and just pour it into.
You don't have to cut it open. they're refillable, so you can.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can buy just the refill.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try that because what I do with these, I can't stand these because they just bleed all over the place.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah,
like
you have no control.
I just go on a palette and I just like squeeze it out, and then I just use a little brush.
Yep.
So there's this, but this is like a mirror finish. But on these two figures, they don't have like a mirror chrome, so it's more of a dull chrome, right? So what I did is I mixed up some gray paint, added some chrome, kind of like an iridescent material to it,
Yeah.
painted a base coat so it covers, and then over that I let it dry, and then over that to get this nice finishes, I airbrush chrome ink. So it's this stuff. My headset doesn't reach the whole way, so I just buy like a nice chrome ink.
Yep.
I put this in the airbrush, and then just airbrush a couple of layers or coats on top of it, and it comes out really nice.
Like you are doing your best to match what the original figures look like.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I didn't want to do like a mirror finish on. It's not. So this a figure. Okay. So this finish here that I got, it actually matches. It matches perfectly to the original.
Yeah.
Like it has the same sheen. It has.
Yeah, you can tell from the way the highlight hits and the way that the edges feather out. So. Yeah. Awesome. Well done.
So it came out really good. The Firefly, I had to assume that was the finish because I don't have the original figure for this. I have every other Firefly, but not this one. So, the paint I had to get from a picture.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I think there was a question about rivets. So on the 12-inch, there's a 12-inch. I'm just using half-inch rivet. And that goes in. This is a straight arm, right, for the Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
So that goes in there, and then you use the rivet gun here, and you just pop that rivet. The crappy part about it works really well. And what I do is I'll put plastic grease like in here, so that it doesn't rub. There's not too much friction, so that you get a nice smooth rotation there. I have to admit, the only crappy thing is that after you do this, you snip the tail off.
Yeah.
But then you're left with a little nub. So I got to go with like my rotor tool and like grind that down. And I'm getting better at it, but sometimes so on the Firefly, I think he came out pretty good. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see there's that. Try and get him in there. So there's that there. Yeah. So that's been grinded down.
Yeah.
But I'm always worried about, I think I got it.
You touch the plastic, it's coming right off.
Yeah, if you hit the plastic, you're scratching it, and then you got to touch it up, and then, like this shoulder, to be honest, is a little rougher.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard.
That's a really hard spot to get.
Yeah.
So if you slip a little bit and it's tough. But once it's done and it comes out well, then, I mean, I'm really happy with that. These legs are screwed in. They have a screw in there.
Yeah.
But I also legs, shoulders, and torsos, rivets and screws. But I also glue them.
Sure.
Just to keep them
strength.
Just to give them some strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I use 3 different for the upscale, the 3 1/4 inch. I use small. I use the small rivets with this little guy, right? But the upscaled ones, for a 6-inch, I use the 1/4 inch. This way, 1/4 inch rivet. Then I move up to these 2 sizes. So I got the 3 sizes here.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are just.
This is so exciting. Like I've been talking to people lately about moving on from just the plastic that we're taking off the machines and starting to use springs and screws and rivets and other materials, because I'm working on some mask stuff now, and I want to be able to hit the button and have the thing do its thing, and it's not going to do it with just pieces that I print.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because for me, when I started, I just always started thinking I had to use the rivets and screws, and because I went from the other direction. I thought, oh, that's how they built them, so I got to do it the same way. I didn't even think of, like, I remember you guys, Juan and Steve were showing me what they do on a shoulder joint with their full rivet. Like they have like a different kind of joint, and then they do a different kind of joint at the torso that they've come up with that they design, and it works great. I didn't even think to change the design of the originals. I just thought, oh, I just got to make it bigger.
if you did though, you'd have like two separate groups, right? The people are, oh, it should be just like the original, and there's people that don't care and just want something that's good. But you're always going to have those people that just they want exactly the way it was.
So yeah, just to chime in on
like
that.
there's no wrong way to do it, you know.
No.
Well, there is. It could look like shit, but your stuff does not. Like, yeah.
Well, to chime in on that, when you're going to a higher scale, like a bigger scale, you are going to run into the problem that there's no hardware for this stuff, or you have to find the hardware for it. So my thought was, well, yeah, it's just going to take a little bit more engineering, and I came up with a couple different joints or different ways to do it, where you still get the same exact look, but you're not running out trying to find screws and rivets for things that there was never made for. So that's going to be your hang up anyway.
Finding O-rings, the right size O-ring for these things is just a pain. Now I know which aisle to get the exact O-ring that I need for the different scales, but it's like it's a lot of trial and error. Oh, this one's a little too loose. This one's a little too tight. This is too thick. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I use all of the same hardware for the 3 3/4 inch. They're made the exact same way. Like what you're looking at, this is my 3 3/4 inch line basically. And sorry, I kind of hate to do shameless plugs, but I am dropping the stuff that Hasbro we didn't quite make. So if you look and you see those yellow and red figures, those are my version of those are my version of the ketchup and mustard. I also have a relish and a Cobra Trooper, and so I'm dropping those today in 3 3/4 inch scale. And so I'm actually going to do a sign up for those in all of the various groups that I'm in, because we technically didn't reach that part in the fundraiser for the Sky Striker project. So I decided I was going to go ahead and just do that for a small group of my friends. I'm not trying to mass produce, but I will do an order sign up for the few people who want to have a flight crew. But what I am basically saying is that for the 3 3/4 inch, I use the same hardware. When I scale up to the 6 inch, which is what I primarily do with Viper Pit, I just need to do some different engineering because I tried going out to look for rivets. I tried going out looking for the right screw sizes and things like that, and it's just a pain in the butt. Or even trying to order them and trying to get certain things from other countries or whatever to come in, just a pain in the butt. And what do they say? Necessity is the mother of all invention.
So is the U figure a Dreadnought?
No, he's just a quote unquote badass.
I guess that's what made me think Dreadnought.
Thank you.
I like that big.
Well, he's rocking my hairstyle so that's an exact scan of my head and typically how I would wear my hair, and so he just kind of has the look. But no, he goes around and he eats Dreadnoughts for lunch.
Copy that. Yeah, I like. Do you know what? This is gonna sound weird. Have you ever heard of the Rainbow Side Boys?
Yeah, I have heard of that.
Okay, so that's your flight deck crews have a bunch of different colors that represent what they do. Like your red
Exactly.
is like ordnance,
Yep.
purple I
Yep.
think it's fuel,
Oh,
yellow is typically your chief and your flight deck, the guys that are in charge up there.
Right.
Green
Green.
is like
Green.
photographers, white is
Mm-hmm.
medical. Like there's all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. So like
So that's what I'm doing. So I'm
yeah,
doing 4 colors. Well, let me take that back. Right now I'm doing 3 colors. So I'm doing ketchup. I'm calling them ketchup, mustard, because that were like the code names that they were given anyway.
right.
And then I'm doing relish for right now. So
Okay.
that's the green. I will be doing a blue and purple come just a little bit later. And then I'm doing the Cobra Trooper one, just so Cobra doesn't feel left out. And, they got planes too. So
Yeah.
I'm doing a Cobra Trooper one. But yes, all of these are based off of the actual colors for the jobs that are on your naval vessels, basically.
Cool.
Can we see that big lob up close?
Oh yeah, sure. So this is let me make sure I got them in the CD. So all of this is 3D printed. And what's different about him, I couldn't stand the head that they originally used because that was just a Mercer head painted. I actually found this head through, this is a Marauder's Gunrunner's head, and then I painted it. But obviously you needed a joint, a connector joint. So my buddy over at Level 7 Toys sent me basically some neck connectors. And so I used that, popped on a neck connector with a Marauder's Gunrunner head, and painted them, and I came out with what I thought was a much more decent looking head, without having to sculpt one of my own. There is another guy who sculpted a very cartoon accurate head and body for Big Lob. And I'm one of the people who has seen the actual prototype for that. But for what I could do, I thought this looked pretty good, and also made his head and neck a little bit more proportionate to what he should look like as far as height and size. Yeah.
Is he a little taller than the regular figure?
Just a little. He's about, he stands just a little bit taller.
Looks nice.
But it's because of the neck and head.
Awesome. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah,
Dominic,
sure.
if you could tell us where people can find you and your work.
Sure. On Instagram, I'm Viper6, so that's Viper6 and then IX. In the groups as myself, or I also have a page, Viper6 Designs, in Facebook. So I have a website, viper6.com, but right now it just shows my Instagram feed on there. So yeah, if anybody's interested, just reach out to me, send me a DM, send me a message, whatever you want. Even for like tips and things like that, or share some notes, I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And definitely I'll talk to you again, and we'll figure out a time to get you back on, because I'm blown away. Like I'm just, like obviously you've got just a wealth of experience that I don't know too many people have, just because you've been in this industry. So I'm sure there's plenty of people that can maybe come up with some solid questions that you might be able to help with. So just awesome.
Yeah, I think we have him marked as a designated expert, but if we don't, after today, he sure will.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Artwan, you got anything?
No, I really want to thank you guys for coming out. If you're looking for some flight crew guys, I will be doing orders for those. I'm only going to do 10 orders because I'm trying to just sell 10 sets, to help replenish my equipment needs. So if you're looking to order some flight crew guys, just send me a DM. You should know how to find me. That's all I got for today.
Great. All right. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Dominic, thank you again. 6 foot bat, man.
I'll wave goodbye with this.
15 weeks. 15 weeks. All right.
15 weeks, yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. All right,
okay,
everybody.
guys.
Thanks again, and we will see you next time.
Thanks a lot.